get clipped in. There we go. Good evening, how are you? Welcome back. For the eagle-eyed, you'll notice that I've got a new crash helmet on tonight. The last one ended its life in a wheel tangle at about 20 mile an hour on the tarmac, racing to the pub. It did its job, so it's time for a new one. The peak got smashed into bits and it was split on the side of the helmet. So new crash helmet time. Tonight I'm off to ride some of my local trails on a beautiful spring evening, so let's crack on. Whoa. We nearly had a moment then. Look how beautiful this is. The spring holds so much hope of a superb summer of riding ahead. The sun coming through the trees is stunning. Whee. Right, let's get into the first trail. Now, about 2 weeks ago was my 56th birthday, and this year I've kind of been obsessed with can I turn back the clock of time on my fitness to 10 or 15 years ago. So 10 or 15 years ago I was banging into my cross country, had a super light, fast, giant Anthem and was absolutely loving it. But I would also ride downhill trails on it and be bothering the top 10 on Strava. So then you think, well, if I'm this quick downhill on the cross country bike, and this coincided really the start of enduro bikes, you think I'll go down that route because it's got to be quicker and better, right? And then before you know it, you're riding around on a 16 or 17 kilo full suspension bike that is sucking all the joy out of your trails because it's just overkill for my type of riding. Right, let's get back to the next trail. So I started mountain biking about 40 years ago, and back then there was only cross country, and downhill only happened once you had ridden your cross country bike to the top of the hill. And we were obsessed by weight. So if you owned a sub £20 bike, you were something special. In fact, we would go to the bike shop, buy the lightest components, and then take them home and drill holes in them to make them lighter, which was absolutely ridiculously stupid thing to do. And if it was anodised purple, it was the dog's danglies. I think one time I'd spent more on a USC titanium seat post than the frame of the bike I was riding, which took some doing in the 90s. So we would race cross country one day and downhill the next, all on the same bike. And then people began to specialise in their own disciplines, and to cater for that we got, oh, that's changed, then we got loads of different bikes. So then we had cross country bikes and downhill bikes, and then many years later enduro came along, and we all thought the only bike we needed was an enduro bike. So that's what I rode for probably 7 or 8 years. And that brings us to the state of the bicycle industry today, which, if you were to believe the hype, they would probably want me to own a minimum of 4 different bikes to cover all the different disciplines of riding I do. Which is kind of realistically everything from gravel to downhill, or downhill light. Whoa, that nearly went wrong. I'm kind of over that. Woohoo! And now they want to throw 32-inch wheels into that mix, and I'm only about 175 centimetres tall, and I can't see a 32-inch wheel ever working for me. And I quite like the idea of the purity of just getting back to only one single bike that I can do everything on. And that one bike for me is my steel pace hardtail that I'm on tonight. It's efficient enough to ride all day epics on. It's fast enough to race cross country at the level that my body would allow, and it's capable enough for trail centre blacks. That's all the bike I really need. I make minor spec changes to it depending on what I'm doing, but not really a great deal, to be honest. I just love this bike, and it's perfect for me and the type of riding that I do the majority of the time. And it's surprising how hard you can push modern cross-country tyres without them bursting. In fact, this bike's so good, it's allowed me to turn back the clock about 15 years, and I've been beating times that I set on a pure cross-country race bike 15 years ago, and it's allowed me to climb back into Strava top 10s, which is something I hadn't visited for a long time on my enduro bike, because that was just horrible to try and pedal really fast. Oh, trail fairies have been busy, that's good. Oh, the evening light up here, whoa, that's skittery. It's so nice. What a beautiful evening to be out on a bike. So yeah, start again. Knowing that I can beat times I set 15 years ago on a pure cross-country bike, race bike, makes me happy. And knowing that today I can still climb my way into Strava top 10 leaderboards Makes me very happy. Anyway, back to the top for one last run, I think. Alright, let's have a talking free trail. Get down this fire break first. Perfect. Oh, what an evening. Right, I'm going to cruise off home. Hopefully I can get home before I need to take my sunglasses off and put my light on. Thank you for watching and see you again soon. Bye.